Gable Steveson, guys, where have we left off? Where have we left off with Gable? So let me give you a quick update. Gable won the NCAA twice. He wins the Olympic Games. He signs with the WWE. Now, he had signed with the WWE prior to the Olympics. They wanted him. And this was a protege of Brock Lesnar. Just to tie this circle in, Brock, heavyweight champion, University of Minnesota. When Brock was coming back and thinking about fighting, when he was playing Vince and Dana against each other, but he played it all the way to where he started to go in and get actual workouts and make sure there was video of it so people thought he was going to go fight. We took Gable under his wing. And vice versa. Even though Gable was a young guy, Brock was in there to get workouts because he's got the absolute best guy, and it's right here at his alma mater, not to mention it's the same weight class. You can see where these two are going to form a bond to some extent. I don't know that Brock is Gable's idol. But I could guess. I bet you I'm close. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Gable went to the school after, right? You know, when a guy's older, when a guy's achieved what you want to achieve. Brock was an undefeated NCAA champion, went on to be a world champion within the UFC. Goes on to be the world champion within the WWE. Same steps that Gable's following. And I think that that's really relevant. If you're trying to guess what Gable's going to do, it's not a bad thing to look at the guy he looks to. All right, so Gable wins the Olympics. He's done wrestling. That's it. Never coming back. He's got a year at Minnesota left. He's done. He's out. Now, that's a problem for the wrestling community because the Olympics were only separated by 3 years. Don't forget that. The 2020 Olympics were contested in 2021, which we've got a 3-year break instead of a 4-year break. It's relevant. When you have somebody as young as Gable, 20 years old, was he 21? I think he was 20 when the Olympics went off. He was 20 when he made the team. So he's at the oldest 21. When you're at that age, it is quite literally a situation where Gable could never train again, show up, he'll be 24 years old for the Olympic trials. Never wrestle, literally. Not even practice. He could show up and make the team. He could practice for as few as 2 months and go win the gold medal. Only because at that age, you get better. Right, you're going to go through puberty twice. You get that once when you're a kid, right around that freshman year, 8th grade year, but you get it again. We call it man strength, where you literally get one more push just by staying alive. Your balance doesn't go, your timing doesn't go, and Gable just happened to be in this window. I'm not suggesting for you that Gable's going to do nothing and walk into the trials. I'm just reminding you that he could. He is that special of an athlete. And people that saw Gable at the Olympics have come away with the conclusion that he barely won. That is extremely misleading. There was 0.2 of a second left on the clock when Gable got the takedown that gave him the 1 point that he needed. That's true. But Gable gave up 6 points to that guy in one exchange. There was a takedown for 2, a gut wrench, and another gut wrench that quite frankly weren't even good gut wrenches. It was surprising that Gable went over. And I only say that because that's something he can fix. That scenario doesn't happen. That match wasn't close. Much like the match that was the night before that you missed because NBC did not air it, where Gable took on the defending Olympic champion and finished him. Finished him. If you don't know wrestling, think of the mercy rule. We have something in wrestling called a technical fault. It's the mercy rule of baseball. When you are so far ahead of the other team, it is not reasonable that they could come back. The referee will stop it to end the embarrassment. That is what Gable did to the defending Olympic champion. So the world and Gable are not close. Now, I bring that to you because he's going to wrestle at the University of Minnesota next year, his final in his senior year. This is done at the direction of the WWE. They've got him under contract and they're saying, look, your exposure and what you could gain by staying in the amateurs but representing us, we think is more bang for the buck than we could do with you in the next 8 months. So this is where we're going to send you. Now, for some reason, Minnesota's keeping that quiet. And there's guys in wrestling that will have a secret. And it's very hard to get anybody to give a damn about wrestling. But when you get a guy like me that does, who can bring it to the audience, you want to bring them in on it. I mean, you really would. If you got a good, juicy story, you want to release it. But for whatever reason, Minnesota's not. So you're not going to be able to go out and confirm what I'm telling you. But Gable is going to wrestle for him. He's going to start next year. So after the Christmas break, he'll do half the season. It's really relevant. Because when that's done, the Olympics are only a year away. I have my own personal belief. Now, I'm telling you he'll wrestle for Minnesota, but I have my own personal belief that if the experiment that the WWE thinks of taking Gable, taking this college athletic star, he is as much a star as the guys that will be nominated for the Heisman within his own field, but he is much a star. Keep him, you have him go do an Olympic cycle. Now you've got a two-time Olympic champion. This is my own personal belief. I don't think Gable would agree with me. I don't think that's any part of the plan that's been discussed for him. I'm just looking at the calendar and trying to imagine the way Trips and Vinnie Mac are going to think. That if you get him all the way till March, it's only a year, go get him another Olympic title. Now, I was talking to Chuck Kearney last night. Chuck Kearney, head coach at St. Mary's, my coach, guy that brought me to the University of Oregon, one of the great experiences of my life. We start talking about Gable. Chuck tells me, well, there's one move that Gable could do to be recognized forevermore as the greatest wrestler to have ever done it, to take the place of John Smith, to jump in front of Sanderson and Burroughs. And he said, yeah, I'm listening. He says, well, it's the Olympics in 2024. And I said, well, yeah, Chuck, that would be great. Yeah, 2 Olympic titles and, only 2 times at international competition. Go 2 for 2. He's, batting 100%. But I'm not fully agreeing with Chuck. Because, well, Smith did 2 titles, but he also did the Worlds every year in between. I'm not sure that he wins the argument. And Chuck said, no, Chael, I haven't finished. The Olympics of 2024 in Greco. Now, again, not reporting something. That is not going to happen. Chuck's point. He would be the heavyweight Olympic champion in freestyle. He would be the heavyweight Olympic champion in Greco. Would we all recognize him as the greatest? Yeah. Yes. John Smith himself will hand the reins over. Publicly. Hand the reins over. You're the guy. It's a very interesting concept. I'm only sharing that with you. I don't predict he's going to go into Greco. I think that he's going to stay with freestyle. But I like the argument. I like Chuck's point. And also within American wrestling, we do not have a Greco deficit. We truly do not. Not skill-wise and technique-wise. We do have a DNA issue. And we could start kids at 9 years old, and we could take them overseas, and we could train them twice a day, every day, exactly like the Europeans do. We could, or you could take the top 5 from the NCAA. Get the top 5 guys from the NCAA, get 1 or 2 of them in every single weight to go do Greco, and we'll have all the same medals. And I do agree with Chuck's point. I do believe that if Gable made the switch, Gable would win the Olympic gold medal by 2024. It could be one of those things that we're always going to have to wonder. But I like the topic of Gable. I like the promise and the opportunity because I'm not completely convinced he's not going to still come to MMA. And when I look at the UFC heavyweight division, I am stunned when I see the lack of representation in the heavyweight class. I don't think there has ever been a time in history. We do not have an All-American on the roster. When Daniel Cormier retired, the most decorated wrestler in the UFC on the heavyweight roster is now Stipe Miocic. And Stipe was a very good wrestler. He qualified for the NCAA tournament. It was down a weight class, 197 pounds. You guys might not know that. Guy hasn't always been a big heavyweight. But that is how underrepresented wrestling is in the UFC at the heavyweight class. And Gable could still be the answer.